And of course, this is one of the main characteristics of what foreign language learning, and more particularly English, is all about, right? You keep on giving your responses. Great Peru and the Amazon, excellent. Exploring the jungle in Iquitos, Milagros, yes, that's a wonderful place. I've been there actually, and it's a very beautiful place, Iquitos in Peru. Um, so, foreign language learning, of course, as teachers, this is what we want, more or less. We want to help our students uh, make use of the target language, English in our case, in order to convey messages, in order to negotiate, in order to speak, right? And in order to do that, to achieve communicative competence, of course, we need the assistance of grammatical competence and language proficiency. The more words they are familiar with and they've got in their arsenal stored, the more it is that they can, the more they can make use of in order to talk about. And the necessity to develop, to help the students to learn a foreign language, of course, cannot be limited only to helping them become acquainted with grammatical forms, right? I mean, there is much more than meets the eye, or actually, in order to take advantage of this image that we have here, it's actually what this eye sees here. And this eye is focusing on the globe. And one learner should be able to come into contact with and should learn to appreciate and gain knowledge from and to be inspired, why not from, is the different cultures around the world and what they have to contribute to in order to build intercultural competence as we see here. If I am to give a definition, one of the definition that I have found that pretty much describes what intercultural competence is all about, it has to do with the ability to understand and interact with people of multiple social identities and with their own individuality. So this is actually the definition that made me focus and try to think about the way that we deal with culture pages and with intercultural competence in our teaching of the language, of English language. The ability to understand and interact with people of multiple social identities, but of course, at the same time, with their own individuality. So, yes, it is a fact that when we are focusing on culture, then when we are talking about when we are focusing on cultures and culture pages, and we have the opportunity to have a look at a specific country and the characteristics, the cultural characteristics that define it, usually we emphasize, usually there is an image that more or less is, like I said before, the trademark image of that specific country. So we're going to be talking about Paris, and there it is right in front of us, the Eiffel Tower. Or we're going to be talking about the USA, and there you go and see right in front of you, and on the page being dominated by the Statue of Liberty or Hollywood, and some of the traditional costumes that are meant to be linked, be associated with the specific culture that we are talking about. This, of course, is, I would say, it can be regarded as a sort of a fallacy, because and it's wrong in some way, because it leads to cultural stereotypes and is sort of treating culture as a static entity. That is, more or less, that you have a glimpse of some traditions, you have a glimpse of some trademark sites or let's say monuments that okay, to a great degree serve as a showcase to that specific culture, but it's not only about that. Yes, sometimes where those cultural stereotypes tend to generalize on the public as well, which is also a fallacy. Okay, sometimes it could be a bit of rewarding, let's say flattering, like there is a perception that the British are punctual, especially in Greece where I'm based at. We use this when we see somebody that is very punctual and arrives on time and is very strict with their timetables, we say that they're British in mentality. So that can tell you something about Greeks' punctuality, right? Or something which is much more negative regarding the US Americans and how they are associated with junk food. Okay, there is some justification to that based on all the food chains that have arisen from the US, but of course it's not the typical characteristic of every American. So this is why, in order to make a connection with the previous slide about each person's individuality. So, I mean, in my case, for example, whenever I have visited Mexico, I haven't seen anybody wearing a Mexican wearing the traditional Mexican hat and just laying down like a lazy person under a side. On the contrary, I have seen a lot of people who work very hard and are very anxious, and especially in Mexico City because of the traffic. They struggle to be on time and sometimes leave a lot earlier from their homes in order to be on time. Right. The same goes for in China. I mean, uh, I have seen, okay, some people with straw hats, but the majority does not wear on their everyday lives straw hats, right? So these are cultural stereotypes that are meant to give us a glimpse of that culture as a static entity, which is very much a fallacy due to the fact that culture is transformative, it has been evolving, and cultural contributions have been coming ever since migration has started. And of course, this has been an ever-going situation where people have migrated, sometimes willingly, sometimes unwillingly, sometimes due to wars, due to wartime, but there is a constant evolution that of course has influenced one culture, and cultures have blended in such a way that of course you cannot have a specific definition of what it is all about, let alone that, especially in the world that we are living in right now, we see that there is much more of a collection and especially in major cities, they are more or less like cultural hubs of different different of people coming from different countries. And this is, of course, much more of a realistic representation of what it is that we see right now.